trade organisations, farmers, representatives from local authorities and administrations. Indeed, we sampled about 40 or 50 local councillors, and we also sampled all the chief executives in the border counties, the chief executives of the administrations in the border counties as well, to get their views on this. And we held a number of meetings where academics came and they gave us their views with regards to the best way to proceed. Now, in the middle of this particular report, it was also interesting that there was a report published in the States called Modelling Irish Reunification by Dr. Kurt Hubner of the British Columbia University, and it indicates that there was a benefit to Ireland, north and south, of about 35 billion euros, potentially, of increased GDP over the period of 8 years, which is an astounding figure if we have integration of the economies north and south. And it indicated that that would mean about 5,500 euros per man, woman and child, north and south, over the period of 8 years. That was the potential benefit of it. So, Ireland is a small place, a population of 6.4 million people. There are many global cities far bigger than the population of this island here, yet there exists mass duplication in Ireland. We have two currencies, two tax regimes, two legal systems, two police forces, two health services, two education systems, two separate competing economies, 3 tourism bodies, and 26 government departments. There are 26 government departments currently administrating north and south in this state. Now, business and trade seeks two things. It seeks demand, first of all, but it also seeks the path of least resistance with regards getting to the customer as well. And the border, in its disjointed fashion, acts as resistance to that path of least resistance for businesses. So logic dictates that we need to harmonise that disjointedness, if you like, to ensure that business, enterprise and trade has a more even flow, and then it serves the people in the communities from which it's in. Also, it's very important that trade is a tool of conflict resolution, and that was a very important part of the Good Friday Agreement, and indeed in conflicts right around the world. The European coal and steel community was founded on the principle that trade would prevent future conflict in Europe. However, cooperation is not easy, and John Bradley has said previously that there is a glass ceiling north and south with regards the development of north-south activities. And he refers to George Quigley as going beyond trying to break that glass ceiling in his determination to improve the economy for all. So today I believe that we in the Oireachtas Committee on Jobs, Enterprise and Innovation have contributed to this landmark report, and this report makes an effort at cracking that glass ceiling. And what we're asking is the administrations in the north and the south finally push through that glass ceiling and make sure we have a better all-Ireland economy for everybody. Since the partition of Ireland, infrastructurally, organisationally, economically, legally and culturally, we have experienced massive divergence. And the nature of political and state institutions that have evolved separately see collaboration and cooperation as a threat to them often. So there's often institutional resistance with regards to that level of collaboration. But the logic remains. The necessity for that collaboration remains. And for me, from speaking to the many groups, some of them represented here over that period of time, one key success factor shone through this whole process. And that is, if you really want to implement properly, deliver properly, and achieve the economies of scale, what you need to do is you need to plan together, fund together, and deliver together. Because if any parts of that process are broken down, it leads to diseconomies of scale for both north and south. Now, one of the first places that we look, there's two ways of looking at the all-island economy. The first one is in the macro level, the island as a whole, and the second is the micro level, and that's the 11 border counties that straddle the border itself. On the first basis, we need to make sure the spatial planning happens in a singular fashion. Believe it or not, we spatially plan on this island pretty much mutually exclusively, with our backs to each other. An example of that would be the dual carriageway that was built from Newry to Warrenpoint in the 70s, while it took till 2007 to build a dual carriageway from Newry to Dublin. So obviously the fine people of Warrenpoint are very happy to have their dual carriageway, but on an infrastructural basis, that Belfast to Dublin corridor has proven to be an engine of enterprise and prosperity in the island of Ireland, but it took till 2007 for that to happen. We need also to make sure that we have one agency on the island that's focusing on economic development, to make sure that that planning happens together. We also need to make sure that we have harmonisation of taxation, fiscal policy, to eliminate those diseconomies of scale. Along the border region especially, we have swings of fortune. One side of the border becomes a boom town, the other side becomes a ghost town due to the changing fiscal decisions north and south. But that prevents long-term investment. So those areas become divested over a period of time, and that shows in the economies north and south. There is some fiscal harmonisation happening, which is positive, and that's the corporation tax. And that's an example of what can be done north and south. Harmonisation of excise and VAT is also very, very important to remove the opportunities of the black economy and actually create a level playing field for enterprises north and south. We had people telling us that businesses in Tralee were finding it difficult to sell briquettes because briquettes were coming down from the north, which didn't have the same carbon tax rates as the south. So therefore, it actually was cheaper to sell briquettes which were bought in Newry, in Tralee, rather than buy them locally as well. We have also, with regards to black economy, it's very important that we have more integrated policing on the island. The idea that a criminal can pass the border without a second thought, yet the PS9 or the Garda must stop at that invisible line in the pursuance of the criminal is completely illogical as well. Employment policy north and south must be harmonised to actually create a proper functioning labour market. And it's funny because there's great debate happening with regards to TTIP at the moment, and one of the big elements of TTIP is the existence of non-tariff barriers. And yet, on this small island, we're replete with non-tariff barriers. And this particular document of ours seeks to break down those non-tariff barriers. There's currently a cap on Intertrade Ireland. Intertrade Ireland does great work. Thousands of jobs have been created and sustained, and we need to make sure that that cap comes off, and it's simply allowed to develop with regards to demand in the economy for it. Both governments need to make sure that we focus on infrastructure. The northwestern quadrant of the island of Ireland is really suffering from the lack of infrastructure. The A2 and the N2 needs to be built to motorway standard, and needs to happen soon. We also need to make sure that narrow water bridge is built and that the rail services north and south are improved, both in the northwestern quadrant, but even the Dublin to Belfast line. We heard of evidence to the committee which said that you cannot leave Dublin first thing in the morning and be at a 9:30 meeting in Belfast. And that wouldn't happen between Edinburgh and Glasgow. There will be 15-minute shuttle services between those two cities. The idea of the Sligo to Dundalk route, which obviously traverses through the border region, needs to be looked at as well. The idea that we have the British HGV levy on this island, which actually charges people to trade north and south, is illogical, and that needs to be removed. The Corcoran mentioned the All Ireland Retail Forum, and indeed NERTA and Retail Excellence Ireland did a really good piece of research which showed that there was 700 million euros of available opportunity with regards to tourism shopping on the island of Ireland. So we need to make sure that forum is established. We also need to make sure that public services are delivered. Right now, attendances in southern universities from northern students are very low for a whole lot of reasons, not just that the recognition of the A-level, etc., is disconnected from the southern university at the moment. The cross-border groups that exist along the border need to be strengthened, and they have seen a decline in some of the funding that they've received. Some of them have stated that some of their funds have been cannibalised by local authorities, etc., as funds have got more difficult. So we need to make sure that they're properly funded. But But on a micro level, we need to make sure that that border area, those 11 counties, are helped out. The border runs for about 499 kilometres along from Donegal to Carlingford, and many of these areas have been sundered from their natural hinterlands. We need to make sure that there's a rebalance there, and most of the people from which we achieved evidence stated that there should be a border development zone, and that's one of the key findings in this particular document. And that border development zone would do two things. It would reorientate spatially the development of the island, which has moved eastward over the last number of years, but it would also make sure that some of the economic problems in that area would be fixed. Now, there's two elements to it. First of all, we believe that issues like agriculture and tourism should be focused on the whole of that border zone. But in an enterprise and industry fashion, we believe you need to be more focused. One of the problems with the spatial plan this side of the border in 2002 is that it tried to be everything to everybody and didn't locate in enough hubs of critical mass to actually make a difference. So we're saying that there should be 3 hubs, one Newry in Dundalk, but also then a mid-border region hub, which would include Enniskillen and Omagh, Cavan and Monaghan, and then a northwest, which would include Lifford, Strabane, Derry and Letterkenny. And one of the great innovations in Louth and Newry was the Memorandum of Understanding, and that led the way. It was even recognised by Europe what could be done with regards to cross-border development, and we believe that that needs to be rolled out and deepened right along the border local authorities. We also believe that we need to make that border development zone work. We need to make sure the infrastructure is developed. I mentioned the road infrastructure there, but also the telecommunication infrastructure.